Hi, my name is Andrew McDermott, and this is the Champions Mindset Podcast. Join me as I dive into the minds of the world's greatest champions and share with you the secrets, lessons, and knowledge that's allowed them to rise to the top. Welcome to our community of greatness, abundance, and fortitude. Thank you so much for being here. It's time to become the person you've always wanted to be. Hi, everybody. Andrew McDermott here, and this is episode 4 of the Champions Mindset Podcast presented by First Finisher. Today's episode is called Becoming a Badass. Once you listen to the show, you're going to know exactly why I chose this title, because our guest today is the Christmas Abbott, and she is unstoppable. Christmas is a CrossFit competitor, Olympic lifter, entrepreneur, best-selling author, and the first woman NASCAR pit crew member. A native to Lynchburg, Virginia, Christmas has not always lived a life where fitness and wellness were as important as they are now. Christmas describes her teenage self as a smoker and slacker, citing a brief stint in middle school athletics as her only precursor to fitness. It wasn't until an experience as a civilian contractor in Iraq during her early 20s that she found inspiration to change. It was there that she discovered CrossFit, the springboard to the accomplishments she is known for today. Upon returning from overseas, Christmas curbed unhealthy habits, drastically altered her lifestyle and physique, and opened what is now CrossFit Invoke in Raleigh, North Carolina. Since beginning CrossFit, she has become a member of the highly respected CrossFit headquarters seminar staff and led her team to Mid-Atlantic Regionals for the CrossFit Games the past 3 years, including 2 qualifications and trips to the Reebok CrossFit Games. Christmas is also the author of the best-selling book, The Badass Body Diet, which is one of the best books ever written when it comes to fitness and nutrition for women. She also puts on seminars around the world called The Body Review, where she works hands-on with people teaching the principles in the book. And during all this, Christmas also became the very first woman to ever be a member of a NASCAR pit crew team. This interview is incredible. In the show, we talk about while you're starting out, just moving forward is the most important form of progress. The difference between passion and opportunity, how comparing yourself to others is self-destructive, why behind every fear is the person you most want to be, and so much more. A little note though, but before we get into the show, I first heard about Christmas on another podcast called Barbell Shrugged. Barbell Shrugged is a really unique and incredible podcast that talks about training, fitness, nutrition, and it's hosted by 3 men named Mike Bludso, Doug Larson, and Chris Moore. I first heard about Barbell Shrugged a few years ago. And when I first stumbled upon this podcast, I was at a very rough point in my life. And this show really became a source of inspiration for me. You know, each of the hosts and the guests they have, including Christmas, were just incredible. And they really fired me up and helped me at a point in my life that I really needed it. Tragically, one of the hosts, Chris Moore, passed away a few weeks ago. It really came out of the blue, and everyone who knew him is absolutely destroyed by it. I don't know him personally. I didn't know him personally, but he was one of the most amazing people that I'd ever known in my life. Chris's nickname was the Barbell Buddha. He was an incredible writer, an incredible philosopher, and just the way he spoke about life really always resonated with me. He was a guy that always wore his heart on his sleeve. He just did it right. He lived life the way that I hope to always live. And so I want to read a passage from one of his books called Get Change, which I encourage everyone to check out. As Chris put it in his book, don't let your life come down to chance. Work for this. Bleed for this. Make someone close to you smile. Help them with this skill of yours and watch as the impossible becomes more and more likely every day. This is the battle plan. You know, just that small passage right there, that's the way life should be lived. You know, with this passion every day, with this purpose. So this episode's for you, Chris. Thank you so much for everything you do. We will truly never forget you. All right, I'm here with the Christmas Abbott. Christmas, how you doing?
Thanks. I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, excited. For our listeners who aren't familiar with your story, when you see you now, you see an elite athlete. You're absolutely locked into your nutrition, your fitness. You're in incredible shape. But correct me if I'm wrong. At one point in your life, you were living, almost the complete opposite of your current lifestyle. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself, your history, your story, and about the life-changing discovery you made while serving as a civilian contractor in Iraq?
Yeah, I just kind of growing up, my parents were amazing. So I just want to go ahead and preface that. But they were of an alternative lifestyle, meaning that they were like bikers and hippies and they wandered around and just kind of were like Rolling Stone rebels. And through that, I became accustomed to a certain type of exposure of lifestyle. And I just was around people who smoked and drank and partied. And, it's always going to be in my bones. I'm always going to be a rebel. But I just wasn't exposed to a healthier option. And I didn't know that there were these other healthier options. So, in result, I became a product of my environment. And finally, growing up, there was a couple of traumatic experiences that allowed me to use as a crutch. And when you don't have any major accountability for your actions and you don't really have a lot of self-worth or value, you find reasons not to put yourself out there in a positive way because then it can be kind of frowned upon. And what's worse than that? Well, I thought it's better for me to go ahead and rebel and just kind of mess everything up myself than get rejected or made fun of. So I kind of stayed that route into my early 20s. And it wasn't until going overseas that I realized I had been self sabotaging for almost a decade in a way that was going to prevent me from really living any kind of good life, not even like great life, but a good life. But also, it hindered me to be able to live well. And when I say live well, I mean like I had an epiphany when there were mortars coming into my camp that all the decisions I had been making were eventually going to kill me. So I was basically going into overseas in an active war zone. I had been doing a ton of drugs. I had been partying really irresponsibly and making decision after decision that was just bad, bad, bad. And eventually, on a long enough timeline, that catches up to you. And when my epiphany happened, it was not in any way whatsoever to want to live a wonderful life, but ultimately just to be able to want something better. And I didn't know what that meant. And that's okay because I want people to understand that they don't have to have a plan. They just have to make a single decision that is better today than it was yesterday. And it's these small steps. It's like somebody who has never worked out in their life just going and taking a walk around the block, and then the next day a walk around 2 blocks, and you build on these small steps and it eventually creates this amazing mountain. But you can't climb that mountain without these other steps leading up to it. So I just decided to start doing small things that were better and just make better decisions. Not always great. you know I think that's also important to take into consideration. It was not perfect from day one. I messed up a lot. I relapsed a lot. I still had struggle. I still had a lot of self-confidence and self-worth issues, but over time it got better and better and better.
Well, and that's something I really want to make a point of, especially when it comes to the fitness industry with things like Instagram, Facebook. Our previous guest I had on is also in the fitness industry, and we hit on this a lot. Is people see you, what you look like now, and they think, oh, she's always looked like this. She's always been like this, but it's like, no, it took a lot of work. It took a lot of time to get there. And for people who are at square one, it seems like it's impossible. because it's such a long journey. And when you're starting out, that's really the hardest point.
I love that because impossible, if you look at the word, it's a very long word. But if you break it up, it's I'm possible. And that same kind of mentality going into something, if you want a goal and people are like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get that, I'm never going to do this, then that's like looking at the word in its whole self. But if you break it up into these small steps and celebrate the teeny little small accomplishments, then you're able to build on it and really start to see your progress. One of the things that I preach, especially to women, because we are notorious for this, is we may be doing well, but we're always undercutting ourselves. And instead of saying, yeah, I did a really great job in the workout today, I'm really proud of myself. They would say, a lot of women will be like, well, I didn't do as well as I wanted or as well as so-and-so, but I did okay. And they're always doing this negative prefix comparison and just immediately taking away their power. But instead, I don't care if you're the last one to finish. If you couldn't do everything RX or you did everything scaled, I want you to be like, I finished. And sometimes people come up to me and they're like, what's your goal? What are you going to get? I'm like, dude, I'm just looking to finish my workout. I'm looking to be able to have a good time. And they're like, really? That's all you think? And they think that it's a cop out for me, but it's the honest truth. And that's been my like mantra for my workouts from the very beginning of just like, I want to get through it. And then I kind of went into this mental preparation of like telling myself that I was the baddest bitch in here. And I don't care if I was next to Annie Thor's daughter or Camille, like I just would tell myself I'm the baddest bitch in here. And it's just putting your psychological mind in a state to where you can actually succeed versus setting yourself up for failure. Why not set yourself up for winning or success mentally?
Well, that's the thing too, is especially with fitness, is that people, it's good to be competitive. That's obviously you want to be competitive, but it can almost be crippling to so many people because they're always comparing themselves to someone else. And whether it's fitness or in life, if you're always doing that, it just becomes paralyzing, really. Unless you're, the single person in the world who is the fittest person, the richest person, the most successful ever, you're always going to be comparing yourself to someone else and you're never going to get any better.
But even then, on top of that mountain, somebody's coming after you for you.
Exactly.
And
you're not going to last forever.
Trust me, I prefer to chase than to be chased. Because when you're being chased, there is an overwhelming fear of like, oh shit, they're going to pass me. And it's just, why even put yourself through that extra turmoil when you're like, you know what? If they beat me, they beat me. If they don't, they don't. What I'm doing is I'm doing this for me first and foremost, and I'm going to see how best I can do this. And a lot of people forget about that because it is group fitness or it is, socially comparative for where you are when your status in life. How big is their house? How big is their bank account? Will they drive a brand new car? Well, I'd rather have the bare essentials and be good on the inside than have amazing exterior to be able to prove to everybody that I'm great when I'm in this constant turmoil inside. You see what I'm saying? And not saying that one is better than the other. Like my goal is to be able to have everything that I want and to be, beautiful on the inside and good mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I think that a lot of people throw that out the window as soon as they see how well somebody else is doing. And it's not about them. It's about you.
Yeah. And that's kind of goes back to, for you, finding CrossFit was really, your breakthrough moment. And for a lot of people, but when you're doing something that means so much to you, that goes beyond yourself, that really has a purpose, then that stuff doesn't matter because you don't have time to care about the other things, those more shallow thoughts. It's, you got a mission and you're on it. You're going to accomplish it. And that's what really matters.
Yeah. You have to understand why you're here and you have to understand what you want to do and prove to yourself, daily, weekly, monthly, annually, whatever it may be. And I've been able to do what I've been able to do because I haven't been comparative with my position and in whatever it may be, life or sports or whatever. And been able to really focus on my stuff and be in the present with what I'm doing versus into everybody else's. Because if you're concerned about what they're doing, then you're losing focus on what you're supposed to be accomplishing. And ultimately that takes away from your ultimate goal, as well as it takes away your focus. And so therefore you're not giving it 100% of all of you.
Absolutely. So after becoming very successful at being a CrossFitter, you then opened your own gym. What inspired you to do this and take on a completely new challenge of entrepreneurship?
Well, I knew that when I first started coaching indirectly, not even intentionally, that I just found something that I loved. And I had opened a gym early and then moved. And then when I came to Raleigh, I just started a boot camp. And it was because people kept asking me questions. So it was very natural and organic. And I had no interest in doing another gym because I just wanted to be able to work out and not think about it. And, when the people start asking and you're looking around and you're like, well, nobody else is doing this, and they keep bugging the shit out of me. They convinced me, and it's been an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful for it. It's literally, they were like my kids, my little fitness kids, and a handful of them are still with me that did my very first boot camp, and it's amazing to see their growth. It's been 6 years now since I started the boot camp, over 5 years since I opened my gym at CrossFit Invoke. And it's just incredible. And it's a lot of work. People don't understand how much goes into the behind the scenes. And coaching is great, but if you love coaching, then go be a coach. If you love business, then go do your business. And it's two separate roles. And I just want people to know that they shouldn't open a gym because they're a great coach, but really shitty with business. It's not a good idea. Make sure that you either partner with somebody or you understand the capacity of business that you're getting into, because it is a lot more business than just coaching.
Yeah, and what really stuck out to me, what you just said, is that, this is a new show and we haven't had that many guests, but every single guest now has had kind of the same answer when I asked them how they, started their business, is that it basically just formed out of necessity. They're like, yeah, I really love doing this. And all of a sudden, my friends, people started asking me advice, and it just turned into more than just, a hobby or your passion. It turned into a lifestyle and a career.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about following your passion and making it work for your life. Passion and opportunity are not the same thing. You have to create opportunity through your passion, or through your passion create opportunity, which is pretty much the same thing. You just have to understand what you're getting into sometimes before you just jump into it, especially if it's a financial potentially burden, and then ultimately just seek advice from advisors and people that have done this. And people always think that they can figure it out and they don't have to talk to anybody, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier if you get some mentors, or at least seek the advice of people who have done it well in the community and who've done it poorly. What you do well, or what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and just pull that. And ultimately, you're going to make your own decision. But it's still nice to have a little bit of heads up on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said too about how there's a difference between passion and opportunity, because it's like I have a lot of passions in life. Like my biggest passions in life are music and sports. Like I would love to be in the Foo Fighters. I would love to be playing for the Green Bay Packers, but it's like I'm an average musician and I'm a 6 foot, like average athletic ability. So you kind of have to find that crossroads of what you love, what you're good at, and also where the biggest opportunity is for your life and your career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I want to talk about next, I've been like wanting to ask you, this is probably gonna be my favorite part of the interview, is during your course of ascension in CrossFit, opening your gym, you became the first woman to ever work on a NASCAR pit crew team. Can you tell us what made you take on this mission, what it was like entering this previously male-dominated industry?
Oh man, it was one. I'm going to tell you exactly opposite of what I was just talking about. I had no idea what I was getting into. I did not seek information. I got duped into it, but for me, it wasn't financially crippling in the sense of like I wasn't signing a 5-year lease that I was on the hook for.
Yeah.
For me, ultimately I got duped into it. My friend called and he's like, "Come do NASCAR," and I was like, "Cool, I'm going to drive a car." And I got there and hit lug nuts and fell in love with it. I had no idea we were going to be the pit crew, which pissed me off
What did you
initially.
think? Did you think you were going to be driving?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
No dreams about hitting lug nuts.
Yeah.
Nobody. When you think about NASCAR, you think about fast driving,
Yeah.
unless you're a techie geek and a technique geek like me, and you think about how fast you can do that pit stop. But ultimately, I try. I was like, fine, I'll try. I tried it, loved it, and my obsession became very similar with NASCAR as it was with CrossFit. So I found something that I was like, literally, I was doing research on it. I couldn't find anything. There was very little information about how to get into pit crewing, because I had no idea that it's like very few people actually get into it and succeed at it. So I ended up, they called me a couple times, asked me a few times to come out and train. And finally I was like, you know what? CrossFit has been so amazing to me. I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to commit for a year and just see what happens. And for me, it was all about the experience. And then I found out that there weren't any women in there. I thought they were recruiting me because I was a good sized tire changer and could do well. You know, it's like somebody walking into a CrossFit gym and doing Fran in 3 minutes, but they've never done Fran before. And you're like, well, we can use you, you know, like we can put you potentially at the games. And that's kind of how my start with NASCAR started. And it was amazing. It was difficult, most challenging thing that I've ever done. But I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, when I saw that you were the first woman ever, I was really surprised. I couldn't believe there'd never been, a single other woman to do that. So, were there many, barriers to that, or how was it as far as just being the only woman on the whole track?
Um, the guys treated me like one of the guys. I think that it's how I carried myself. I worked hard at practice. I worked hard in the gym. We trained together as a team. We hung out together as friends, and we created this bond, much like you do in CrossFit. And I didn't go in there and overstate my ability. And you walk in with humility, and you respect the sport, and you respect the people who have been there longer than you, and you respect the people that are coming into it as well. So you just have to know your role and earn their respect, and it was a really great experience.
Absolutely, and that's the way you got to do it. So next, I want to talk about your book, and I'm probably going to plug this a ton because you are the author of The Badass Body Diet, which is by far one of the coolest book names. And any of my girlfriends who ask for nutrition or fitness advice, I always point them to this book. I say this is the Bible if you are looking to get in great shape and really optimize your performance.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. So
That's wonderful. Thank you.
oh, definitely. So how did you, what inspired you to come up with this book in the first place?
Again, it was very natural and people kept asking. Actually, Andrew, what happened is that during this time, during, going to the games and competing and then NASCAR, I was getting a lot of emails specifically from women about my diet regimen because I would always post, people saw what I would do for my workouts. So that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you eat? And early on, when I first started my fitness endeavors, I just dove headfirst into learning about different diets and how they affect you and how they affect me. And a lot of them didn't make sense to me, and a lot of them didn't make me feel good. So I used myself as a guinea pig and was able to, much like CrossFit has taken all of the best components out of these different fitness regimens, I took the same thing with the diet regimens that I came across of. I took all the stuff that I liked, left all the crap that I didn't like, and I basically Frankensteined this diet program. None of the information is new, but it is constructed in a way that is new. And for me, it worked for me. And then people started asking me what I was doing. And I was like, well, I don't know how it's going to work for you, which is how I came up with the different body types. And because there is no one size fits all. And even with this program, I encourage you to, once you have a foundation with it, to play with it a little bit to see what works best for you and gives you the best results that you are looking for. And so I got tired of the emails and I started a seminar, and the seminar was it still does extremely well. And then a book agent reached out and he's like, have you thought about writing a book? And I was like, no, what am I going to write about? He's like, what about this nutrition seminar that I've heard about? And I was like, well, yeah, but it's a seminar. He's like, just write everything down, Christmas. And it's became a national bestseller, and I love it. And, I wanted to make sure that it was something that anybody could read. So this is definitely written towards and for women, but the diet regimen or the nutrition regimen is non-gender biased. So obviously with guys, you would just put more food on your plate. But it's pretty standard for both or anybody.
It's an amazing book. And how did you come up with the name?
Well, I was talking with my my publisher, HarperCollins, and we were just like doing all this stuff. And I was telling them how like my mantra about being the baddest bitch in here and all this stuff. And they were like, badass, badass, badass. You're such a badass. And I was like, well, yeah, but isn't that just a state of mind? And that's kind of that conversation really spawned the book title.
I love it. It's awesome. Cause everything you see, everyone's cookie cutter, bikini, something. So this just sticks out so much, and it's awesome. And I think the mantra of it is why it's so effective to a lot of people. Cause I've talked about this before. You can have the perfect diet, the perfect workout plan on paper, but it's useless if it doesn't come from someone who inspires you, if the words aren't getting you to take that action.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, you can have the perfect diet regimen, but if you hate it, you're not going to do it. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a balance between what is going to be good for your body and allow your body to flourish, but also, implement things that your mind and ultimately your soul needs. Cheats aren't for your body, it's for your soul. But I wanted people to understand that there's a balance in that you will not, you will not become face down in the ditch across the street if you decide to have a donut on Wednesday. But, if you have a donut Monday through Friday, it's going to derail your progress. So it's accountability for yourself, but also making sure that you can implement real life without feeling restricted all the time.
Cheats are for your soul. Truer words have never been spoken.
Right.
That is so perfect. But so, it's incredible how much you've already accomplished. Like you said, it's only been 6 years since you first started, open your gym and now where you are now. And what really sticks out to me is you are just fearless. You have this incredible belief in yourself. Have you always been this way your entire life? Or what would you say has created this attitude and the way you see the world?
Oh man, I am terrified. I am so terrified. But here's the thing is that nervous energy is the same energy as excitement. It's just how you perceive it. So I know that if I'm scared of something, if I'm scared of failing, or if I'm scared of trying something, then I absolutely have to, because it could be the most exciting thing of my life. And it has held true that CrossFit scared the crap out of me. Competition scared the crap out of me. NASCAR scared the crap out of me. Writing this book for everybody to judge scared the crap out of me. But they are such great accomplishments for me, even if it's just me. And so therefore, I had to push through and do it regardless of my fear for it. And it became a success. So it's all on how you decide to approach it and push through it. It determines whether it's a failure or a success. And for me, there's a ton of things coming up that still scare the crap out of me, but I'm excited about them. Now, I have tried lots of things that I don't like, but at least now I know through educated experience that I don't like them. And, otherwise I'm like, you can't have an opinion about something that you're going to fail at it or it's going to be an awful experience if you've never tried it. It's your mind playing a joke on you because you need to try, you need to try it and have the experience, and then you can know whether or not you want to do it again.
And yeah, that's the thing is in life, so many times, so many people are so afraid of everything. And instead of either succeeding or failing, they do nothing and they get nowhere. And even if you fail, like you said, at least you know it doesn't work. And most of the time, that's just as important as figuring out what does work.
Yeah, we're all going to die eventually, so I'd rather have a good time while I'm here.
Oh, I know. I completely agree. Uh, so let's get into just a few quick rapid fire questions before we wrap up the interview. Um, First one, when you hear the word champion, who is the first person that comes to mind?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, obviously Muhammad Ali, since recently he passed away. We just, we lost the greatest guy in the world that just was like, I'm going to do it. Watch me do it. And otherwise, I don't know. I think about my mom too. She just recently went through breast cancer treatment, and she was a boss.
Do you have any sort of daily routine?
Yes. Well, I travel a lot, but when I'm home, I wake up, I have breakfast. It's my favorite meal of the day, hands down. I'd get on social media and do a little meditation, a little focus for the day. Then I go and I work out, and then I hit the office. And then, I come home and I either have one of those pre-made meals, I don't know, or I whip up some of my super fast dinners. And then I sit on the couch and I work still on the couch. And I love mindless TV. I think because my brain is so turned on all the time that I need to disengage. So it's
Yeah.
pretty good, yeah. And then, depending on the day, sometimes I'll go for an extra run. I love hot yoga, and none of that what are the ones where they like the strong power yoga. I want the rest and restore. I want to walk in there and have them like stretch me out and let me go to my Zen place and go into Savasana. But yeah, I just want to try new things. And whenever I'm home, I try and venture out as much as possible.
Awesome. And then our last rapid fire question. In moments
I guess that was not a short answer.
Oh, that's fine. It's kind of
Okay.
the rapid fire is like never short answers. It's just like short
Okay.
questions, kind
I
of.
could do this fast.
No, it's perfect. Um, so in moments of self-doubt where life might not be going the way you planned, who or what do you think of to keep you going?
A lot of times that varies depending on like where I am with my life, but a lot of times I think about my family. But I also think about a lot of my fans and the stories that I've read or heard, and how I've become, a role model for them, or an influencer to them is a better word. But ultimately, I am aware, and I think that's the biggest challenge that most people have, is that they don't have an awareness of their thoughts. And I'm aware that in that self-doubt that I'm just having a moment of weakness, and that's human. And that I look at my track record, I look at my history, and I look at where I come from, and I just kind of go back in a couple of years of my life and I say, you know what, you've done and gone through and endured so much, good and bad, life challenges, business challenges, success, failures. You can handle this now. And so this is the time that you step up and you do what you know you're supposed to do, and you persevere. So I try and always make sure that I know mentally that that moment of weakness is the absolute part that is going to make me stronger, getting past that and not giving up.
Perfect. All right. And then finally, the last question that we ask every guest on the show: what is the one thing you challenge our listeners to change or do in their lives to become a champion?
Oh man. You have to, I've been talking about a lot lately, is be aware, and me also known as present. So if you're in your workout, then think about your movements, think about your body. How does it feel? How does it look? Not like aesthetically, but are you executing the movements with good technique? Are you aware of your good technique? When you're walking home or cooking dinner, are you just going through the motions and detaching your mind? Most of people just go through the day and they don't even really understand what they're doing, but they're just going through it because it's their habit. As soon as we have an awareness of our actions, we are able to increase and elevate those actions to make them better, or make them shifted towards something else that we want to do better. And so there's this great awareness that I've been practicing and really trying to promote. And I think that it bleeds excellence into everything that we do. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And as soon as you start practicing that, the champion is just a matter of time.
I love that. I read a lot of different Buddhist Zen writings, and that's one of the main things I talk about always is awareness, and just always being aware of your emotions and not even trying to change them in the moment, but just when you're aware of, negative thoughts, negative actions, just knowing they're there. If you can just always be aware of that, they start to just fade away.
Yeah, and I think that people try and exclude bad feelings out of their life, but that's not exactly what we should be doing. So whenever something makes me sad, I think about it and I allow myself to be sad, and then it, like you said, it just kind of dissipates, and it's because I didn't reject it. And that's a hard thing to do because we try to avoid being sad or scared or all these other words that don't make us feel good. But we can't, just like everything else, we can't be feeling great 100% of the time. We're humans.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way life works. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Christmas. This was incredible. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you online, on social media, and what you're currently working on?
Sure, Andrew. Thank you so much. It's really difficult to stalk me. You can go to christmasabbott.com. My Instagram, my Facebook fan page is also Christmas Abbott. And Snap is super fun. That's like the really cool in and out of my real day.
Yeah, I love your Snapchat. It's great.
Thanks. I totally busted my face with a wall ball today. So anyway, and the things that I'm working on now is a second book about habits, and I'm working on a corporate wellness app.
Ooh,
Hey,
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too. And that was my interview with Christmas Abbott. This was an incredible show. It was really surreal for me because I've always looked up to Christmas, and I just can't thank her enough for coming on the show today. You can find all of the show notes and resources discussed today, including where to find all of Christmas's work, at www.firstfinisher.com. Follow First Finisher on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to receive all the latest updates from the show and to join the community of other Champions Mindset podcast listeners. If you enjoyed the show today, please head over to our podcast page on iTunes and leave a 5-star review. These reviews really help with our show getting noticed and help us to spread our message. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you the best in your pursuit of becoming a champion.